I'm Joyce Creiger. This is ArtLink, conversations with art galleries, artists, art professionals, art consultants, art lovers, and art collectors. My guest today is Dana Salvo, owner of the Clark Gallery in Lincoln, Massachusetts. Dana is a Fulbright Scholar and has a Guggenheim Award. I'd like to welcome Dana Salvo. Thank you for being here, Dana. Can you tell me, what do you look for when you're considering the possibility of taking on a new artist?
A dedication to their art, dedication to the craft. A work ethic that's very, very strong, and a very high quality of execution.
How important is a consistent body of work to a dealer?
It's very important. It's what it's all about. That's another thing. A good artist knows how to edit, and they know when they're on. And of course, artists, like anybody, create an enormous amount of work that some of it's just thought process, some of it's just things that they're trying to work out, and they know how to edit that out. And so a cohesive vision is always very, very important for me as the gallery to represent.
How do you handle an artist that doesn't have an MFA and a BFA and all the credentials? They just are good at what they do, but they really are self-taught.
I handle a number of self-taught artists, but I don't look at resumes initially when I get submissions. That's not really the resume comes much further down the line. It's always about looking at the work. I handle a number of very good self-taught artists. Janet Rickus, for example, who's probably one of the, I'd put her in the top 5 still life painters working today. She's self-taught. A lot of people come into the arts from a different angle. They don't come into it from art school. It's more about the need to make something, or it's that beautiful necessity to create, and they do it very, very well. So the resumes come much, much later.
What are 2 things that an artist can do to connect successfully with the gallery?
The primary thing an artist can do to begin looking at galleries is to be informed. Okay. One of the best ways that I have found to be informed, because I use it myself as a resource material, is Art in America's annual guide. They put out in August every year. I actually have a copy. It's a very simple publication, Art in America. They list in that publication every contemporary gallery in the United States, and they list it by state, so everything's numbered. And within every gallery, they also indicate what artists they exhibit, who are also indexed in the back by number. They preview the exhibitions of museum shows for the year, so you know what's coming down the line. And they also have a complete listing of the major university galleries in the United States, which are a very, very important thing for artists to be aware of. It's an incredible resource. I use it every day. And it has all the information you could possibly want to know about the art world.
Do you often collaborate with interior designers? They would come in and say, I'm doing a project and I need your help. How does that work?
We do work with interior designers quite regularly. We also work with architects, city planners, hospital curators, corporate curators. We work with a wide range of people. Interior decorators and designers are very similar. It's not that they're a curator necessarily. They'll oftentimes look for material that is suitable for their client, which is exactly what we do all the time anyway. If an interior designer comes in, she'll talk about the space, but she'll oftentimes talk more about the person and talk about some of the things that she knows about that person and what do you think would be suitable to put into that environment. It's not about matching them with drapes or anything like that. Very, very rarely is it that sort of situation.
Of the pieces that you sell in a month or 6 months, how many of those would you say are custom commissioned pieces?
Commission work is an integral part of the gallery. We just recently did a project with Nordstrom, and they loved painter Jesse Morgan's work. However, they wanted a piece that was 24 feet long. Okay. Jesse's never done a 24-foot painting before, which was great because she got to make a 24-foot painting. It's unbelievable. Okay. However, if she'd had a 24-foot painting, they probably wouldn't have commissioned one. So it's a very important aspect. Another artist, Paul Bowen, who does very large sculptures, beautiful things. He was, someone wanted it for a specific space, and it was huge, but he didn't have anything that was existing. But they trusted his vision. They knew his body of work, and they trusted him to do anything that he wanted. And of course, it was in the spirit of the work that he's created in the past.
How instrumental are you in guiding that process?
Well, I encourage it all the time. James Aponovich just did a beautiful commission for a couple in New Hampshire, and he does, and I try and do commissions with him a lot. Because typically, artists, they work in a certain size, primarily for economic reasons, to engage in a significant work that's very large or, big, or requires a lot of material, requires a lot of their time, and that sometimes it's risky for an artist to commit, a couple of months to one piece that might ultimately just sit in their studio. So it's always wonderful for them to have that opportunity to. The money's up front. It's always very, very good, and it allows them to experiment. It broadens their work. It opens up new worlds to them. It's always great. And sometimes a collector might want a particular piece that's no longer available, and we can make that happen for them. Might not be the same, just something in that spirit, and everybody's happy.
What is the worst thing a young artist can do to hurt their career?
I recently did an invitational show. It was a glass show, contemporary glass, and it was a wonderful show. And then I combined a lot of well-known glass artists, people that run the department at RISD, people that run the department at Mass Art, people that run departments out in Seattle. They're established artists, okay. But I also wanted it to be an eclectic show, so I spoke to some of these people and asked them to recommend some of their students, or that were just recently out of school. And I reviewed a lot of work and made some selections. And I sent out an email to the artists with 4 lines: title, date, medium, price. 4 lines, title, question mark, okay, 4 lines, how difficult is that going to be to get a reply? With the younger artists, it took me sometimes 4 emails or more to get the answers to the 4 questions. And sometimes they, in a couple of instances, the younger artists didn't want to sell the piece wasn't for sale. In those particular instances where the piece wasn't for sale, I told them, well, you better get your ass over here and get the work out of here. Okay, so it's, and they didn't understand that.
So not having something for sale clearly is a detriment to them.
Yes.
What about where they show before they approach you? Does that often jade your opinion on whether or not you want to handle their work?
No. Again, people are always suggest that where you show and who you show with is so important. Okay. Again, resumes come into the equation way down the line, and then I always refer to Louise Nevelson. Okay, Louise Nevelson, her studio. If a public library somewhere in mid-Ohio wanted a piece and they sent her a letter and asked for it, she sent it. If a school wanted a piece of hers on their premises to show somebody and they sent a letter to her studio, she sent it. Her policy was, if someone wants to see my work, it's going to get there. Okay, so I take the premise that anytime you have an exhibition, anytime you have an opportunity to have your work in a setting where people are going to be able to engage with it, it's a win-win. It helps the community. Anytime.
So Banksky's okay with you?
Oh yes. Anytime you can get art into a community where the community is engaging with it, and that's across spectrum. It's a win-win for everybody. Art is a very powerful force. It's an agent for change. It has an emotional resonance that people don't get in their ordinary lives from a day-to-day thing. Art changed my life as a child. It got to me early, and I am so grateful for that. It changed my life. So it's.
I understand
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Would you please finish this sentence? Art is.
A beautiful necessity.
With that, I think unless there's something more specific you'd like to discuss, we can conclude our interview, and I thank you for sharing all that you did. I think it will be very helpful to the viewers. My pleasure.
Thanks for having me on, Joyce.